Hey, my name is Dave Est, and I'm a full professor in the Faculty of Social Work at the University of Calgary. I've been there for 28.5 years, and I'm retiring in 2 weeks. So I'm looking forward to that. I've had a good career. So how did I become involved in this area of HIV in AIDS as it was when I first started out in relation to people of African descent in Canada? I ended up having a very close colleague, and her name was Dr. Kathy Worthington. And I will never claim to be an expert in HIV/AIDS because I'm not. And I'm not saying it's something that it's a area that I'm interested in. But if you had asked me 15 years ago, would have I engaged in research and a little bit of community work in this area? I would have said no. But my colleague, Dr. Worthington, that was this whole area of HIV/AIDS research is her area of expertise. And not surprisingly, when it comes to, I would say, both from a research perspective and community activism approach, well, it's not surprising that in Canada, a lot of that work was done in Southern Ontario, and more specifically, Toronto. To a lesser extent, I would say in the city of Montreal. I came in with my knowledge in terms of knowledge about the African Canadian community more broadly in Toronto, Montreal, and Halifax. But at the time, despite the fact that people of African descent had started living in this province in the 19th century, and at the turn of the 20th century for a 5 or 7 year period from 1905 to 1912, there was a migration of African Americans, primarily but not limited to the state of Oklahoma, and about 1,500 had come to primarily Alberta, but parts of Saskatchewan. Some settled in Calgary, some settled in Edmonton, and outside of the Edmonton region, there are a number of small rural communities that these African Americans migrated to and settled. And once again, some of the best known communities were Amber Valley, Wildwood, etc. Looked at this as an opportunity first because we the three of us were social workers to take a look at service utilization, but also what were the service needs of people of African descent living with AIDS and HIV at the time, as well as, to a certain extent, trying to tease out what are the strengths of people of African descent in their communities here in Calgary. Got posed a question, and this is an important question because every year since 1996 or around there, at the federal government level, in the past 3 years, the provincial government, we celebrate Black History Month, 1 month of the year out of 12. So what does Black History Month mean to me? Well, as I said, I did all my education here in Canada. And as a high school student, Never learned anything about Black people in Canada. I knew more about European history or British history and American history, with a little bit in terms of African American, but it wasn't much. And as far as African Canadian history, nothing. So for me, one of the meanings associated with Black History Month is a formal acknowledgement that people of African descent have been here for 400 years. Secondly, I look at Black History Month as a way to celebrate the resiliency that people of African descent have demonstrated, both historically and in today's society, because, you know, we've seen in the last 10 months what I call an awakening in terms of Canada and its relationship with different people of African descent. So it's also important for people of African descent to acknowledge and celebrate our contributions to Canadian society. But Black History Month isn't only limited and shouldn't be limited for people of African descent. It's also an important event for all Canadians to begin to get an understanding of who we are as a group of different communities within this broad term of Black communities. What have been the trials and tribulations that people of African descent have experienced, once again, both historically and today, whether it be racial profiling, carding, domestic violence, systems not being responsive to the needs of people of African descent living with HIV and AIDS. And hopefully one of the outcomes of the month is that it puts pressure on our educational systems, whether you go from K to 12 and university, and to begin to integrate different aspects and dimensions of the experiences of people of African descent, whether it be history, political, music, theater, dance, because we're holistic people, and spirituality.